Okay, Mindset by Design crew. So as always, you've had my awesome intro, and I'm so pumped about today's guest, my buddy, Wade. How are you, sir?
Bro, great to connect again. I mean, last time we were hanging out, it was a fight night in Panama on the UFC, right?
Every Saturday.
That was great.
Good times, man. Good times.
Good times.
And it's so funny because it's so weird. Matt pulled me into Panama. Matt Gallant, who's coming on the show, and I had no desire to go to Panama, but I'm here again. I just came back. We just got on a bomb, and I'm sitting here in the middle of Casco for everyone listening, and Casco Viejo, the old Spanish town. And do you know what, Wade? I've been away 8 months, mate, getting my knee fixed and stuff. It's changed.
Yeah, no, it's rapidly altering that place.
It was shocking, man. We were like, not that anyone's going to know listening, but hey, you just tuning into our conversation. So in Casco, you walk 2 minutes outside and it goes into like armed guards and ghetto and stuff, right?
Right.
And there's a supermarket that's in Mashutasu, which is right in like the ghetto area, right? But no Westerners. I went there probably 20 times, obviously, when I was living here before. I probably saw one other white person or one other Westerner. That was it, right? And 20 times ago in there. We went there yesterday, full. Normal shopping place now. Everybody, it's like Panama's changed.
Yeah, it's changing rapidly.
Do you feel that's a good thing, mate?
You know, good, bad it depends on the person and their perspective and what they want to have happen, which is always the challenge in life, right? You know, our egos have our direction of what we want, and everybody has one, and everybody thinks that what we were kind of talking about this. Everybody has what they want or what they think should happen is considered good, and if it's in what appears to be opposition of that, it's considered bad. So,
right,
you can answer that question a multiple different ways. It's neither. It's what you make.
Depends. Yeah. Perspective, man. I mean, for you've been in business for so long. You've done so many different hustles. You've done so many different successes. You've been on this ride, man. I mean, where did this all start, mate? Were you always hustling and being an entrepreneur, even in Canada, or what was that turning point? You always were.
Yeah, well, no, you know, I realized by the time I think I was 26 years old, I was at the time I'd gone through a variety of different positions, went to university and was working the summer jobs, and I worked, you know, manual labor with some from the time I was 15 to 18, and then I got into the bar business because I was a bodybuilder, and so I was a bouncer and in a rough club and like fighting 5 times a week. It was really, that wears on you after a bit. And then I got to be a bartender, and then being a bartender was like the first time I did anything that was actually fun. Like it was, I was making more money than I ever had before. And I went, wait a minute, you mean you can have fun making money? No one in my family history had ever known. Like your job was something you did, you hated it, but it paid the bills.
Right.
And it was never enough. That was what my terminology. I got to be a bartender. It was you're kind of working for yourself. You're kind of like an independent contractor because someone's bringing in the people, someone's managing the patrons, someone's stocking your bar. You just got to be great at mixing drinks, being friendly to people. And the better that is, I was like, wow, this is great. And so at that point I realized I'm unemployable. I can't work for somebody. So after I did my first national championships in '98, I landed a supplement deal for distribution rights in British Columbia.
Wow.
I moved out to Vancouver and started my personal training business. And in short order, opened up a juice bar. You know, I was making protein shakes and all that stuff, which then turned into sun tanning place. And then, you know, Bob's your uncle, and we went off to the races. And then 5 years later, I helped Matt, who you both know, Matt Gallant, my business partner. He moved out to the West Coast. I helped him kind of make the transition and got him hooked up in some places for his first personal training gigs. And we started, I guess that was a couple years later, 5 years later though, like after he first came out, or 3 years after he first came out, 5 years after I first came out, him and I ended up starting our own bodybuilding business online. So he introduced me to the online business world. And then in 2005, we moved to Panama. Right. And that was the beginning of the Panama equation.
The Panama experience.
Yeah. Cause we were living the Tim Ferriss lifestyle, but Tim was living that lifestyle at the same time and nobody knew about it and nobody had written about it. And then shortly after, Tim came out with his book, The 4-Hour Work Week. And I was like, man, why didn't I read this before? Because I ran into all the problems that Tim did. And I was like, well, I should have known this. Right. So yes, since that time, we've been lucky. We've got a great company that's now by Optimize. We've been doing that for a long time. It's really hit its next level of success. And that's really great. I got a
beautiful
distribution business, consulting business. I do a lot of different things. I got a lot of things, a lot of irons in the fire.
But do you feel that's one of the tricks? Like to being an entrepreneur, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs put all their eggs in one basket or one moment, or is that a good thing? Again, perspective, right? Depends.
Yeah. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think in today's world, it depends where you're starting out. So if you're a young guy or girl and you haven't really accumulated much, you haven't done much, you know what? I think probably you're best to go all in. Go all in, do what you got to do, suffer it out, because there's going to be some, maybe 3-5 years of some suffering, right? You got to alter life, and life might not be so great. You might not be living in the best of places. You might not have the most of stuff because you're reaching your dreams. That's okay. Grind it out. Right. As you get older, and if you got a partner or you got families, oftentimes you can't do that. It's too big of a risk. So you're better off starting like a secondary gig, with an established business or something like that, so that you can build enough and work that on your spare time outside of work. So you can build up enough money that you can safely exit the first one without jeopardizing your family. And sometimes you got to try 2 or 3 different hustles before you're going to find the one that's matched. You always learn, but you should always go all in when you go for something, but you might discover that's not going to work out. And you got to do something else, and you got to do something else. And in my case, it just happened organically. I didn't try to start a bunch of new business. They just kind of happened all on their own out of necessary, because one thing was up or one thing was down. And now suddenly they're all working. And I don't know how that happened, right? But that was a journey of, 20 years. So I don't necessarily recommend that, right? And I was willing to take the heat. I didn't have a family. I didn't have kids. So I didn't have a lot of the responsibilities that a lot of people did. And that's a big factor.
So you could take the risks. You could do that.
Yeah. And if it didn't work out, it didn't negatively impact other people. Today, it's a different story. I got a fiance. So, if I hit a snag or hit a challenge, there's a corollary effect for her. For me, it doesn't matter. Like I've been rich, I've been poor. I've lived in, exotic, ridiculous mansions. I've lived in absolute crap holes, and I just find it all kind of entertaining. But that's not necessarily the case with everybody, right? So to me, it doesn't matter. I don't make the assessments that your car or your house or all that determines who you are. Those. And do you think, I love what you've just said, mate. And I 2 things there. I love you just said it's all entertaining. Because that's what I love about you. It's a spiritual connected ride that you're on, right? So this is just, you're like, this is where we are right now. Right.
Where are we going next? What's happening here? The wheel fell off the car. All right, we need a new wheel. Should we upgrade the wheels? Oh, let's upgrade the wheels.
That actually happened to Matt and I. We were in Panama. The wheel literally fell off the car we were driving one day. I mean, it happens down there. Big fun. I'm like, well, look, the wheels fell off this. Maybe we should check ourselves.
That's funny. Welcome to Panama. You gotta love it. You gotta love it, man. So you were like, is it right that you were a monk for a while?
Yeah. So, I was in 2003. Let me back the truck up a little bit, and I'll
tell the whole story about it.
Yeah. So basically, after 1998, I realized I wasn't going to be Ronnie Coleman. And when I started my businesses, I worked like a dog for 1.5 years, and then I got introduced to the party scene and went absolutely crazy on that. for about a year.
Is this in Panama or?
No, this is in Vancouver. Had a great time. It was a lot of fun, but I got myself into a lot of trouble. Long story short, I had a spiritual awakening when the wheels came off that program, as they always do for people. It just happened to me in about a year.
Of course.
And my spiritual teacher came to me in a vision and told me I needed to follow his meditation. Now, I had been trying meditation and experimenting with stuff, but this was like a clear piece. And so I got involved in the meditation. 6 months later, became a vegetarian as an experiment, as a 2-week experiment. And then that just never changed, which was kind of odd for a bodybuilder. And then I got this idea that I could be a bodybuilding champion as a drug-free vegetarian, because no one had done that. And it turned out, in 2 years, I won all the qualifying championships, the locals, the Western Canadians, the national championships, and went to the Mr. Universe contest, which was really cool.
Way. I didn't realize that, man.
Yeah. And then during that time, though, I was in a relationship with a girl who unfortunately had some challenges. She had some addiction challenges, which was very traumatic. And but the good side of that was it just kept pushing me deeper into my spiritual practice as a way of coping. And then finally, I was so frustrated with all the dieting and everything. I decided, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm just going to be a monk. And I'd actually lived in an ashram before I started my contest, and I was in contact with some monks. And the contest was in India, and I got there, and I said, after the contest, I gave up all my stuff when I went to the Mr. Universe, and that's it. I'm taking this pathway. And then I met with the monks, and after all this, and it was all planned. And then after the show, one of the head monks said to me, he says, "No, you're meant to be in the world. You're going to come back to India lots of time, but your pathway is in the world, not as a monk."
Oh, wow.
So what was interesting is I'd given away all my stuff. I came back. I lost my client base. I'd left my gym. I gave away all my possessions. I'm like, what am I going to do now? I came back. I got a new place. I got a new gym. The person I gave all my stuff to, they went through a change in life and said, "Hey man, do you want all your stuff back?" So literally within 2 weeks, I got all my new stuff. I got a brand new apartment. I got a new gym. All my clients and a whole bunch more because of my popularity came in. So my life was even better. So I was like, wow, this stuff was really great.
The universe knows best.
And then literally Matt and I started our business shortly after, because, a vegetarian bodybuilder at the Mr. Universe goes, "This is crazy. We can make money online." I'm like, I didn't believe that you could make money online. He didn't believe I didn't have a computer because I had given it away. I didn't have a computer at the time. So I literally wrote I'm the first, maybe one of the only people in the world that had a successful online business without actually owning a computer at the time. And when we first started making money, I remember one of our first checks, I went out and actually bought a laptop.
Probably a good time to buy one.
Probably a good time to buy one.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Drug-free vegetarian bodybuilder. That's a unicorn in itself, mate.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Does it exist? Have you heard of that anywhere else?
Well, the interesting thing was that kind of started a trend. And so we wrote about it. I think we got about 15,000 clients in our bodybuilding program. Matt and I, we started out a program called Freaky Big Naturally, because I was really concerned. I had a health crisis also simultaneous. Like after the Mr. Universe, I gained 42 pounds of fat and water in 11 weeks.
11 weeks?
Yeah, in 11 weeks. And then I met a doctor, and I said, dude, he was like this super vibrant, look right through. He's in his 70s. He's got clear skin. He's super strong. He's like, got so much. I'm like, dude, what happened here? What happened to me? What's going on? I got the best trainer. I've got the Spartan discipline. Somehow he goes, "Hey, dude, I'll never forget this." He said, "Wade, you've learned to build the body from the outside in. You haven't learned to build the body from the inside out."
Wow.
And it hit me like a lightning bolt. And then I was like, oh my God, all these bodybuilders who are following what's in the magazines at the time, because there was not much internet or the boards and all that stuff. It's like bodybuilding.com was just getting started.
Right.
And I said, they're all going to end up in the same place I did. So I followed Dr. O'Brien's, I followed his protocol, completely rebuilt my health. I went on a raw food diet for 2 years, didn't eat any cooked food, got my physique back, got my health back, got my energy. Now I had the physique, now I had the vitality, now I had it all, right? I was like, wow. And so we were writing about it and encouraging people. And then we were testing this with thousands and thousands of bodybuilders all around the world. And we got a lot of data points. And then Matt and I started cultivating our own health products, our own digestive products, because we realized that health, disease, high performance, and low performance all start in the gut. And that eventually led to, morphed into our company today, Bioptimizers. So
Bioptimized. That's how it all began.
That's the whole story.
Wow, I didn't know none of that.
Yeah.
And I know you guys, wow, man, that's crazy journey.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize. So it was basically you resetting your nervous system and your gut that literally, and you allowed the body to go back into homeostasis, right? You allowed the body to adjust.
Yeah, because I fried myself really good. Like I have to, you have to contextualize that. Is I was on a contest diet for 11 straight months, eating only 5 things, about 1,500 calories a day, training twice a day, pose, all that sort of stuff.
That's pure mental, pure mind power.
Yeah, you can imagine. And so mentally, I was tough enough to push myself, but physically, there was some effects, and I had to pay the interest on, it's kind of like paying your mortgage with the credit card. It works for a while till the credit card runs out. In this case, my physicality ran out after all that. And that happens if you study high performance athletes, and I know you've worked with so many.
Yeah, lots, yeah.
You see these guys after the big fight or after the Olympics or after the championships. And a lot of guys and girls really struggle for a period after. And I think part of that is because they've blown out their entire nervous system. And it just,
I agree with that. The chemicals are affected. Nothing's working right. Yeah? Because it's like you've been redlining the vehicle, just constantly. I'm still going forwards. We're still all good. Yeah. Crash.
Yeah.
And do you feel that's why like people just like after a fight for fighters and athletes, you just think that's why they consume food, and it's just like, that's the body's way of like trying to bring that nutrition back in and heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's trying to get back to, the body has been deficient for so long, and the mind could hold the body at bay for an extended period of time. But sooner or later, the biology is going to trump. And you see this with people who might be, living an excessive lifestyle, partying and drinking and, working hard and playing hard and all that. And they do it sometimes even for years.
Yes.
Right. And they you kind of push the little signposts out of the way, the flashing red lights, all that stuff. You push it aside. I'm okay. I'm all right. And then sooner or later, you either end up in a doctor's office, you lead in a hospital ward, you end up in a lawyer's office, or you end up in a psychiatrist's office because something blew up.
Something blew up.
Right?
That's what it is.
And these guys are coming in and saying, listen, man, your life's out of line.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
So do you still meditate all the time? Often?
Yeah, every day.
Every day. So
some days I'll miss it. Some days I'll miss it, but
But it's rare, right?
Rare.
So because you've done so many, you've studied so much different types of things. We've had little chats, and it's amazing. So what do you find, like, for you, meditation wise? What actually have you found the most effective? What style is it? Pure breath? Is it like transcendental? So you use a mantra? Are you flame watching, candle watching? Are you listening to binaural beats? Are you trying to levitate? What's going on with you?
That's great. Well, I think what's interesting, and right now I would say, and there's phases that come and go.
Okay.
The background of my meditation was developed by Paramahansa Yogananda, in the Western, which was actually cultivated by, his guru's guru, which was Lahiri Mahashaya, and then Swami Taswar, and then Yogananda. And it's a form of meditation practice where you're using breath and revolving energy through the spine. And there's a there's a progressive series of practices that take you deeper. And then I use a variety of those through that lineage. But I think, going back to your question, and I think there's a problem, and right now I'm in what I would call the Zen phase of my spirit. So I've been doing meditation and spiritual work and that sort of stuff, consciousness work, if you want to call it, for 20 years. And there's a buy, and right now I'm listening a lot to Alan Watts, who's a great.
I love Alan.
He's fantastic, and he's got all kinds of stuff they've converted onto YouTube now, so you can just listen to this guy.
Tons,
it's fantastic. And he explains something really well, and I think the difference between the Eastern mind and the Western mind. In the Western mind, we've been influenced by kind of the religious church thing, where there's Big Papa. There's some independent source, God, the Father, the grandfather, the man in the white beard, the guy sitting there, who started the whole thing and is watching you all the time.
Judging.
And you've got to, and you're going to reach judgment from this character. So you better improve, because we know if you look deep inside your soul, there's something there's some things that are off that you're not doing right. And if I just meditate enough, maybe I'll improve those enough that I'll pass the test from the big guy upstairs.
Right. Otherwise we'll go wrath.
Right. It's deep unconscious psychological programming, which I think is why Westerners are so obsessed with self-improvement.
I have never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Because it's ingrained like in that collective consciousness of guilt.
Right. We're not good enough. We haven't made it. We're not going to pass the test, because when the day of death comes, judgment happens, and deep down, we can't fool ourselves. We know we don't follow our diet perfectly. We know we don't have saint-like behavior. We know we've got some things that are correct when nobody's looking.
Right.
And then it's like, maybe I can meditate myself out of this.
Or go and repent.
One of the two, right? It takes on different forms.
Yeah.
I don't think that's so prevalent in the East.
That's fascinating, mate.
Right? So we're more of creationists, and they're more of growth oriented. You know, the plants are happening, the things are happening, things are happening on their own. So we've got this whole Newtonian paradigm, because the Newtonian paradigm, if you look at it, the causality emerged out of that mindset that there's a big papa setting things in motion. And now we're just down to billiard balls, right? Who hit the first billiard ball, the thing, and we can go back to the Big Bang, but we don't know what happened before that.
Right.
So physics breaks down. And so now there's the emergence of quantum mechanics, but the whole world is still set up on the Newtonian paradigm. There's only a few thousand people that might really understand
cause and effect.
There's a lot of people talking about quantum mechanics, but I don't think a lot of people really understand it from the mathematical possibility. You know, we can say, hey, I'm going to use quantum mechanics today in this lecture to tell you about how the possibility of your amazing future. And unfortunately, most people are meditating because today's world, it's in vogue to say, hey, if I meditate, well, now I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to look like $1 million, right? You know, people are going to come to me with all the answers. I'm going to know everything. So it's a big, giant ego trip.
It's like the hack. Yeah, it's an ego trip. You're right. So people are meditating because of ego.
Right. And then it's my guru's better than yours. And, you know, my spiritual program and my technique is superior. And I know like more different styles than you do. And so now it becomes like the UFC of spirituality. We're testing, is mindfulness. Tonight, you know, we got the heavyweight mindfulness champion of the world versus the interim European, focus champion. And they're going to duke it out tonight on this spiritual episode. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the same thing, right?
That's amazing, man.
It's who's going to one up the other person. And so what I've come to the place is now with meditation to bring this full circle is I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to stop that program and be present within myself, whatever myself is. And that's not this little bag of fluid that I call Wade, that has some confines.
Right, this thing.
It's a convenient spacesuit for the three-dimensional reality, but that's it. And so that's a real ticket. So sometimes I find now I'll fall into a meditative state automatically without thinking, and sometimes when I'm trying to meditate, I'm not really meditating. So that's where I'm at right now. So
that's interesting.
So after 20 years, I feel like I've gotten nowhere, and that's perfect.
But no, that is perfect. That's perfect. Ram Dass, if you guys listening, and girls. Ramdas spoke about that once. I listened to thousands of hours of him as well as Alan Watts and everything else. And he said, he gives it, do you know what? He was talking to a live crowd, and he was like, I've been studying all over the world with all the top gurus. Back then, you could use the word gurus, right? Gurus around meditation for the past 40 years. I've studied with everyone. And you know what? I haven't lost one of my OCDs or my intricacies, or I haven't lost anything. And the whole crowd was like silent. Like, what the fuck are we listening to this guy for? And he gives it. But these days, they only come for moments.
You're right. That's brilliant.
Moments, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean that the stress, the fear, the pain, life's curveballs of chaos aren't going to come at you.
Right.
But the difference is, how long are we allowing it to remain inside of us? Or if we're looking at it as energy, right? How long are we allowing that energy to sit in our vessel or our consciousness or our frequency?
Exactly.
That's it. Interview over.
Yeah.
Done.
Beautiful.
But and you know what? It's weird because people might be listening to this and going, Andy, aren't you talking about science of the brain? Andy, aren't you talking about neural nets and neuroepinephrine and chemicals? Yeah. But to do what? Right? All of that stuff is just this biomechanical machine that there is something under it. And I have read, talking about quantum physics before, I have read again, but what the heck does that mean these days? I've read, okay? But they're talking about, like, they've done enough mathematical equations in quantum physics to understand that, if you want to use the universe or God's such a harsh word these days, but there has to be something. They've done enough calculations that there is an ultimate observer, basically, is what the term they use in quantum, right? So whether that's real or not, or true or not, who the heck knows? But it's interesting. So I love going back to your point before of saying where you're at, and maybe this was on camera or off camera, but you were saying, I just see it as just all the chaos, all the highs, all the lows. It's just, this is where we're at. It's kind of a fun ride.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're on I was with Krista yesterday because it was Valentine's Day, and I got a little. I had a curveball thrown at me. We talked about that earlier. Won't get into details, but I got a curveball thrown at me. It kind of threw things off course. So I got a card, had a little picture of the Eiffel Tower with a hot air balloon.
Okay.
Right? So, I put all this fire into the balloon, but the wind's blowing it where it needs to go, right? It's a kind of an adventure. So the hot air is the fire and my energy. So all I do is create the lift, maybe. And
I like that.
I think
that's
the
frequency
kind of blows you where it needs to blow you. And the higher you go or the more you get to see is oftentimes related to how much fire you're going to put into the balloon.
Boom. I think that's the wrap up of the interview. I'm joking, but that's frequency. That's vibration, right?
Yeah.
And the way I've been describing it, and this is a weird conversation, not for us, but it's a weird conversation maybe for people listening. I describe frequency as like a tuning fork. And it's like we go ding, and the frequency that matches the universal frequency of high vibration, of happiness and abundance and all of this stuff. Or we ring the tuning fork, ding, of the fear, right? The sadness, the stress, the overwhelm. And it doesn't mean that we don't go through both, but it simply is, ding, where are we ringing this tuning fork to elevate our frequency? Because what we do know through, and I'm sure you do just the same, we put ourselves in so much shit that we know that when we keep doing the chaos, we get more chaos. When we ring that tuning fork and we go back to putting the right things in our brain and doing the right things, it feels like the universe rewards us for that. And like a synchronicity appears, or somebody just appears like a magic that you didn't expect, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's, again, we're hooked on the causality component as opposed to just holding the frequency, setting the intention, and then seeing what happens and remaining open to it. And that's difficult because you have to overcome our mind. And I think that's what meditation is about, is overcoming the predisposed, repetitive thought processes that we're locked into out of habitual relationships and practices, and I would say indoctrination. And dropping that so one can see the miraculous. And then when, if we're right on the edge of it, you're aware of the continuous miraculous. And if you're not on that, you kind of step away from it, and you drop back into causality. You drop the vibration, if you will, and you get down. You can't see things. So
you can't see things.
I think that's a lifelong practice. That's a lifelong, you know, it's not something, and it's not getting anywhere. It's just being okay with where you're at, and that's not in a fatalistic way where you're not putting effort in.
No, you're kicking ass every day.
Yeah.
That's how we do, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, right? And
so how did, like, with bio-optimizers,
yeah,
let's talk about that, because we're talking about mindset there to calm our nervous system down and reset ourselves. But let's talk about that inside out. So explain bio-optimizers, because it's I won't even do it. Just it's your company. Let you do it.
Sure. So Matt and I, we were both, you know, we're on the opposite end of the spectrums. He's a keto guy. He's been one for 20 plus years before it was popular. I'm a vegetarian guy. So you think, how do these guys work together? But it's great because we have a position of opposites in a lot of ways. I'm probably more intuitive. He's more data driven. And so, but we both had a passion for performance and for, you know, bigger, stronger, faster, if you will. And that was our connection through the bodybuilding world as personal trainers and our methodologies. And we fought lots of psychological verbal battles with each other on comparison of ideas. And when we started out in the bodybuilding world, we were doing biohacking before it was called biohacking. We were into meditation. We were into mind machines. We were into hot and cold therapy. We were into using a digital electronic, we were into meditation. We were into visual. We developed all this stuff as part of our courses from back then. Wow. And then later on, as we went through a lot of different morphs with the company, we realized, you know, here's the stats. 12% of the hospital visits today are related to gastrointestinal issues. 95 million Americans on any given day are suffering from a digestive health. And we actually had to solve that as part of our process in our original, you know, with my own challenges. And then also and saw the performance benefits to people. And then other people who weren't necessarily performance people were getting benefits. People that had acid reflux, people that had constipation, people that had skin issues, people that suffered from depression, people had all these symptoms of disease were really digestive related, and why they kept bouncing around from diet to diet. And they find the one that works for them is because they've got a compromised enzymatic pathway, they got a compromised microbiome. And what we discovered is that we really fix digestion better than anybody. So we said, we're not really into the bodybuilding world. We work out and we train. We're not, you know, I'm not trying to compete in a contest or anything like that anymore.
Right.
But we could take what we learned from there and we could apply it to the real world. And we helped over 50,000 people with their digestive health. Wow. So we got a lot of data and a lot of information from a lot of different lifestyles and a lot of different age groups. And I was like, okay, great. You know what? Hey, we can solve this problem for people, and we solve it better than anybody we know. So our company switched their name to Bio-Optimizers. And our primary focus was, we fix digestion. And the bigger vision, which we are now stepping into as well, because we've got most of our digestive health products are pretty much dialed by the end of this year. I don't think there's too many more that we'll need to invent.
Amazing.
What we are looking at now is, how do you optimize biological function? What are the modes? What are the mechanisms? How do you measure that? How do you test that? And how do you come to a conclusion that you can upgrade your physical vehicle to extraordinary levels? Because oftentimes the quality of your life and the quality of how you show up to whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing or you intend to be doing is ultimately affected by your physical health. You can't escape that. And if your physical health isn't where it could be, you're limiting yourself in the other areas by some factor. And that factor continues to grow as we go through the natural degeneration process of aging. And oftentimes with people, we can certainly slow that down radically. And in some cases, in severe degeneration, reverse that timeline for a period of time.
Wow.
And that's exciting. And that's something that gets us charged up about every day, and it gets us on the phones early and thinking late at night, staring into our computers and going around.
Huge.
That's where it
The
is.
longevity is what you're moving into.
I would say high performance health, because
I love that.
You know, you can't always guarantee how long you're going to be on the planet. You get hit by a bus, crash in a plane, you know, I don't know if you can actually extend the life that you're supposed to have. I think we're pretty sure that we can optimize how our life it feels during the time that we have here.
Right.
And that's what that's what I can unequivocally. If that turns out that you live longer, hey, great. But I can't, you know, if I was scientifically speaking, I can't say that I would. I can say that we can extend life.
Right. No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. That's a whole different topic and subject, right?
Yeah.
But what you can do is you're moving in. I love that high performance health, but true high performance health, because it's not, again, there's so much BS out there.
Well, I think there is. Well, the big issue is we've lived in a world, and for the last 50 or 60 years, if you look at high performance athletics, which is where most of the health technology is coming from, or certainly the biohacking tech.
Right.
Some of it's borrowed from the medical community and has some high performance effects. That's true. But if you look, we kind of had a model that you had to sacrifice your health in order to hit a certain performance parameters. And we used, you know, whether it was drugs or technology or chemicals or whatever, to redline the machine for as long as possible. And that's why athletic careers are so short. Well, you're starting to see that trend change. I'll give you an example. When you have guys like LeBron James, you used to have Tom Brady, and the recently retired James Harrison.
Okay.
You see, you're starting to see it in the UFC a bit now, with older athletes performing very well. You saw, you know, like some of the older athletes, they're still fighting in their 40s, which was unheard of.
Oh, yeah.
So why is that? I believe that is because they are using technology to extend the health of that person so that they can now still maintain the performance of a high level without compromising their health. And the fact that, you know, Tom Brady won the Super Bowl at 42 years old or whatever is incredible.
It's incredible.
And with his worst team that he's had, as far as talent around him, but to perform at that level in such a demanding position, and he's got a whole program of what he does. James Harrison, who also played with him for a short period of time, the oldest linebacker to ever play in the NFL, was spending about $350,000 a year to keep his body in shape. Right? If you look at LeBron James, he's spent an extraordinary amount of money doing a lot of different bio optimization technology. Some people call it biohacking, in order to allow him to perform at an age where typically most people drop off. So we're actually seeing this at the highest levels, and now it's kind of emerged into executives. A lot of the tech is very expensive, but then there's this whole field that has emerged of young biohackers who are starting early and starting now, getting into flow state, all these sort of things that we've chatted about. And so it's exciting times. We're seeing performance and health, instead of being two separate categories, are starting to emerge into this new field. And that's phenomenal, right? That's great.
I love it. And I love it. I think it's profound. I think it's going to change the world, and it already is changing the world. And my side is you had the mental design and actual neurological design to that. That's a whole different, that's the next level. So from my side, you know.
Well, I think you speak to a good point, because what you're doing is, I think you're helping people upgrade their mind so they can open up and start experiencing these other things. Because if you can't, you know, going back to, was it Napoleon Hill? What the mind can conceive and
Can't
believe,
conceive, believes it can conceive, it can believe, and then you will achieve, right?
Yeah, if you can, the mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. But we've been taught a program since school, when you went to school. So you're operating on a genius level as a child. You go into the school system, they put you in a desk, and it's, you know, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. You get a 15-minute break in the thing. You got lunch hour. You got, you know, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then you leave at 4. Which was designed to get people ready for factories, right? That system's outdated. It doesn't work. Maybe it was successful for that time. We live in different times, but we've got the remnants of that mindset. Totally. And if you want to change your life, if you can't, and you're struggling, they got to go to a guy like you to upgrade the thinking process, to upgrade the possibility matrix, to undo what was done before. Alvin Toffler wrote a book called Future Shock. And he said the future would be dominated by people who can learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that is because change is happening so rapid, which you talked about in Panama. Things are happening so quickly, so fast, because of digital technology, because of the internet, because of the people being able to connect. You're in Panama, I'm in Vancouver at the moment, you know, and everybody's like, this is the way the world is. That has created a new super brain, which is the internet, which maybe humanity is emerging into, like Homo erectus, a single species. Like bees operate as a single species, or ants operate as a single species. Maybe humanity is going to do that, in order to survive. Because I think Homo sapien is done. I think we've gone to the end of what Homo sapien can do, and we need to go into some other species, just like Homo erectus and Homo floritus and Neanderthals. Those species weren't able to make the evolutionary jump to what was going on in the world then. I think Homo sapiens won't, and whatever emerges out of it will be the people who have embraced this new ideas. Otherwise, I think we're pretty much guaranteed to, like, hit the reset button and start Earth all over, or at least wipe off humans off the planet. And, you know, the Earth is going. Earth's going to keep going. Yeah. It's not save the planet; it's save the humans.
Yeah, no, I love that. Brian Cox, the British astrophysicist, on Rogan like the other week, and he was talking about exactly that. He says, like, in science, what we talk about is this is the 5th generation or something of humans. This is like, it's like it's been cycle after cycle of this. This isn't new. It's like, but we forget. We think we're special, right?
Oh yeah, we got well, you know, we're the special ones, right? Because we're the only people that has consciousness, and that's a belief that a lot of people have. But I mean, if you have a dog, or you have a cat or a pet, you can see that animals have feelings and emotions.
They're just little people in little furry things.
Right. And what makes a plant turn to the sun? There's some sort of awareness there.
Right. Whatever that means. Yes.
Right. So how do you determine intelligence? How do you determine consciousness? It seems and I think this is maybe one of the benefits of meditating, is eventually you'll start to see it everywhere.
Yes.
You start to see
in trees, everything.
It's in everything. If you can get out of your head, stop staring at your phone and looking through life through a screen, and actually take the own screen, our own subconscious filters, which have been hammered into us since we were children. Let go of those, and that's what you do, right? That's what you.
And what's amazing is it never stops. It's like it never stops, and even at the highest levels of people, it doesn't matter. I've got a guy who's a friend and an old client who's coming back to me right now because, again, the business, they're IPO'd, right? The thing's floating. He's all right for money, but guess what? It's still those old patterns of behavior that are still creating weights, and it doesn't matter how high you climb, the weights are there. And when we can delete those or reset the brain to fire a different way, then we get rid of the noise. We get rid of the noise out of our head. That's what meditation is. That's what all these things are. It's getting rid of that noise, so we have just precision laser focus. But the other side of it is I don't know why I'm talking about this, but the other side of it is it's not just about deleting what doesn't work. And this is the difference what I do to I think everyone else. It's about getting the nervous system ready for that new thing.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how we scale a business from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8. Well, yes, you've got to be, obviously business has got to be right, but I ain't teaching people business. I'm teaching people how to tune their brain up to all those different levels. And so when people steps on a TV set or a stage or even a new business venture, the nervous system isn't used to that. So we train it to get used to it. And then guess what? It can perform like that. And so I don't know why I was mentioning that, Wade.
No, it's great. No, it's good stuff. I think it's a really important for people to understand the whole point of it all and why there is no end point.
It doesn't end.
It doesn't end.
And then you go into like the Hindu religion who says, we're just going on and on and on and on and on and on.
Right. Exactly. So, you know, who knows,
we shouldn't
right?
worry too much, should we?
No, because, you know, here's the one thing, you know, we are going to drop physicality. That's happening.
Yep.
And most people live like their lives like it's not going to happen.
Totally.
And
Safety. Be safe.
Yeah.
Get the mortgage 30 years. Be safe.
Yeah,
Stay in that job. You hate it. Be safe.
Yeah. And they finally get to the end of the thing and went, wow, I really didn't play the game.
It's true. And you know what? It was like, it was one of the most, this is a great bio-optimizers podcast, but it's good talking about science and gut biome. But hey, this is the way it went today. It was, what was I even going to say? I don't know what I was going to say, but we'll move on to the topic. I lost it. It'll come back to me. But the point is, high performance, I think, in everything is the way to be. Because if the truth is, it's like, definitely this is what I was going to say. There's a video out there on YouTube, and this is a profound video. And it's, maybe I need to recreate, maybe we need to recreate this video, but because what it was like he had a black like mat on the floor. He had a bucket of rice, poured the bucket of rice onto this black mat so you could show it up. And he spread all the rice out and said, each one of these grains of rice is a day in your life. Okay? So imagine if we knew how many days we actually had. Right. Let's take this section away. That's when you were sick. That's when you were sleeping. That's when you just wasted time. That was TV, right? So we've taken all of these pockets of rice away. And so there's this small group right there. Then he spread those out and went, if every one of these grains of rice was your days and your life that you had left, and you knew how many there were, how would you be treating each day?
Yeah.
Would you be stressed? Would you be worried? What would you be doing? What would you be grateful for? What would you be doing? And I think that's huge. And then the other thing that tells you it came back. This was a profound, again, random topics today with Mr. Wade, but this is a profound thing that my grandma said to me at basically 4 weeks before she passed away. And this was a lady who'd read thousands of books. This is up to the age of 86. I was still talking to her about quantum physics and spirituality. And this is an amazing lady, right? And she'd had multiple strokes and she was lying in that bed. And I looked at her. I just talked to her like this. I could call her Nan, right? So, okay, Nan, you're 86 years old, lying on your deathbed. What's the golden nuggets of life? And she paused, mate. And this was like, changed my life. She paused and looked at me and went, none of this matters. Yeah. I said, what do you mean none of this matters? And she goes, do you think that anything you've been worried about, stressed about, the grudges you've held, the things that you didn't accomplish, the things that you did accomplish, do you think any of that matters in the slightest when you're lying on your deathbed at 86 years old?
No.
And I get stressed. We all get stressed and we all have techniques and we all have this. But the truth is, what does Bill Hicks say? Right? I love Bill Hicks and the comic, right? And it's like, life is like an amusement park. There's lots of rides. It's like a ride. It's lots of highs and lows and spills and thrills. And the ride is so intense that sometimes we forget it's just a ride.
Yeah.
And then a businessman comes along. What do you mean this is just a ride? Look at my house. Look at my bank account. Look at my family. Look at my worry on my head. Right? This must be real. But it's not. It's just a ride. That, honestly, when I was going through a nervous breakdown at 27 years old in New Zealand, I must have listened to that and a couple of Bill Hicks statements like 100 times. And it was those one things, that perspective shift, that constantly allows you to keep going, right? To keep expanding, to keep trying on this journey. Because otherwise, what happens? We think it's real.
Totally.
Now we're done.
Now we're done.
So Wade, biooptimizers, buddy.
Yeah.
How can we? Yeah,
hey,
what like I am not on your supplements yet, and this is ridiculous.
Oh, we're gonna send you some after the show.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you, mate. So what would be the top few things that people have to be on right now to be able to create that high performance?
There's I'll say 3 things. Masszymes, which is our proteolytic enzyme formulations, 15 different enzymes, a couple enzyme enhancers inside that. It's the #1 digestive health product on the market. That'll clean up the first part of your digestion. The second part of your digestion and your immune system, P3OM, it's basically a patented probiotic that's in the patent. It's maintainable in the gut. It's antiviral, antiretroviral, proteolytic, digestive. It's a pretty remarkable product. It's like super bacteria. And then HCl after your meals as well, hydrochloric acid. Most people at their 40 or more is low HCl. Do that thing for about 90 days. And that'll clear up most of your gut issues. And for other people, and that opens up your brain because of the gut mind stuff. If people have gluten in their diet and they're intolerant, they get the gas and the bloating and stuff, they might want to add gluten guardian when they're going out to restaurants or in those areas, in those inflammatory areas. And you can go check out our website. They go to bioptimizers.com/mindset. What they'll do is they'll get a free course. Get a course where they can click on any of the videos. They can learn about our products. They can actually learn about all the things I do to practice health because I learned from all these people. I got 84 videos, 5 to 15 minutes each. That's all free. And they'll get some discounts if they want to try our products. All our products have a 365-day guarantee.
Wow.
We'll give you money back up to a year later. And if you buy a product to fix your digestion and for whatever reason it didn't, call our customer support or chat with them or email them or whatever. We'll figure out which product you probably should have taken. We'll send that to you for free.
Wow. That's how confident. And I know, I thank you for that, mate. I know, and thank you for that, the /mindset. That's appreciated, mate. I know a friend who I met over here in Panama. I don't know if you've met him. He was a brilliant guy, but he was suffering with chronic fatigue massively. And I've been through all this, like massive chronic fatigue. He was an absolute mess. Well, that was 8 months ago. Matt got him on the products. Guess what? He's now training in the gym. He's healthy. I watched him lose so much weight. He was sick. He was drinking, I think, 10 kombuchas, like constantly. He was on everything. Nothing. No doctor, no nutritionist. He tried everything and nothing for years and years and years. 6 months, fixed. Yeah.
I mean, we have another guy, he's in his 70s, suffered from chronic depression his whole life, got on board with that, fixed his digestion, his depression went away. Then he started implementing some of the other recommendations that we talk about in the videos, some of the optimization, health optimization tech. And now he's got a new business. He started a new business. He's got a new life. He's got a relationship. I mean, like his whole life transformed in his 70s. Because he just started fixing, cleaning up his gut, and then he took the next step and the next step and the next step, which we talk about in that series. And it's remarkable. Incredible. So it's never too late to turn the bus around. It's never too late to get started. And you know, if we can help out, we'll do that. I answer questions and things like that. So we welcome the challenges or questions that people might have in regards to their own life.
Amazing. I'm putting links everywhere and promoting this everywhere, buddy. Is there any words of wisdom that you want to leave the Mindset by Design crew with? Do you think that we've done enough today?
Well, you know, if you're listening to this podcast, obviously you're looking to, you know, take the next step in your mindset journey, and just do it. Whatever that next step is, just take it. Doesn't matter what it is. Just take it and don't hesitate. Take it.
I love it. I love it. The lesson of life, right?
Just do it.
Just do it. That's it. Wonder why Nike used that phrase. Just do it.
Brilliant.
Wade, you're a star. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for coming on the show. It means a lot to me. And yeah, thank you, buddy. Good to hang out.
Appreciate it. Thank you.